do this again?
Yes, man, yes. Let's get talking about this. We got some exciting stuff to talk about, some of these players that have been sticking out. But before we get into all that stuff, I wanted to talk to you about somebody that really fucking makes me hard. Like, raging hard, dick on type thing. And that is Sam fucking Smith, man. If you guys have not seen his new video, it's called Unholy. It is truly unholy. And one of the lines that I just want to put out there for it is, "Mommy don't know, daddy's getting hot at the body shop doing some unholy shit." Now, let's just put it out there. This podcast is all about that. We're going to be doing some unholy shit on this podcast. I don't really care what your opinion is, if you think that we're crazy or not. We're going to let it fly, and we're going to have a good time, and that's guaranteed.
Yeah, man, and shout out to The Wash, man, letting us know we just got to spend time focusing on the love. We don't need to think about all the people that don't like us. If they don't like us, they don't got to listen. You're here because you want to hear what we have to say about the Oklahoma City Thunder and whatever else comes to our minds. So we appreciate you guys joining us. We just got done playing a game that was extremely winnable as it went on, bro. Another situation where we see a barrage of three-pointers. We saw, I believe, a franchise record for the Heat in three-pointers. It was insane. Tyler Hero went off again, this time against the Rockets. So we're seeing some stuff, bro. But, you know, even getting down 20, we were able to fight back and get back in the game. You know, we don't like to focus too much on losses, but if we win this game, we're looking at it as one of the best wins of the season. So we still got to look at it like there's some definite positives, and we were right in it at the end.
What else do you guys want? We had an opportunity to win that. We got fucked in the ass. I mean, there's no true explanation of that, except for if you watch the last 2 minutes of the game, there's probably 4 or 5 missed calls that were obvious calls that just we didn't get it. You know, the Shea at the buzzer, right? And then we had 0.4 seconds left with the clock, right? And they still wouldn't go back and look at it. They called the game over. So there was 2 obvious, calls that were missed. Josh Giddey's drive, rebound off of Shea's miss that hit the back of the backboard in the first place and was blocked, should have been a ball on the side. Like, there's so much shit that went wrong in that last even 10 seconds that was just like, how did the refs fuck up this bad? How did they fuck up this bad? Like, how did it come down to this? And we had other chances to capitalize. There was a couple plays that, Dort drove to the hole really, really hard, in and out. Some people got upset. We're like, oh my gosh, Dort, stop driving. But that's what we want from Dort. Right now, it's not going in, but I guarantee you when it starts going in on a consistent basis, like, it's going to be something that drives his points per game up to 20. So this is what we want from Dort. We want that aggression. And the rest of the guys, I just felt like it was one of those games that, things just didn't go right in the 2 quarters or I'd say the 1 quarter that we didn't play well. The 2 quarters, I would say the 4th quarter, we struggled, but we were in the game then. But that 2nd quarter, man, we just could not get things going. And I stayed up late watching that game and this game. And 2nd quarter, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. I got to go to bed. I'm tired, right? And then it was like in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, it's only 20 points, right? It's only 20 points. We're coming back. And that's exactly what happened. It was like that 3rd quarter, we started the quarter at a 10-0 run. Like we figured it out. Like Coach D said in the interview after the game was that first half was really rough. But we came out, we made the changes, we figured out where the holes were on their defense, and we made the appropriate changes, and the guys did better. Like, that's exactly what we want to see. It echoes what you said the other day about, you want to see these guys get better. That's as simple as that on a daily basis. And I'll let you say exactly what you said about the whole way that we're raising these guys and getting them to that point. But, man, I'm excited about this rotation and the way that we're playing these guys right now.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's really a need for us to ever really be pushing a button to bring in a player. Like, if we can't add that player in the draft, then we don't need that player. Now, some people might think, well, we want, our championship window might arrive in 2 to 3 years, and then we might be 1 player away, and we can utilize some of our future assets to do that. And I understand that mentality. But like going back and thinking about with the Thunder, what was the first trade that the Thunder made whenever it was like they were right at that window? They felt like it was to get Kendrick Perkins, and they traded away Green. What's his name? First name I forget. Anyway, but my point is, I think that when you look at like the Harden trade, a lot of people look at that as the first like sign that there was, okay, they messed up the roster, or they didn't go all in the right way. You needed to utilize the talent differently. But bringing in Perk and giving up Jeff Green to do that, to me, was the first sign that they recognized they didn't have the assets to add the type of player they needed to without giving up an asset. If they could have added Perk without giving up an asset, that would have been the way to do it, right? And how do you do that? Well, you can sometimes do that through free agency. I don't think that Perk would have been someone that would have been incredibly coveted in free agency for the type of money we were willing to pay him, right? Because, teams have to make their priorities when it comes to paying players. So I feel like this idea that we ever need to get to that point is really a misconception. I hear a lot of people talking about trading for a center. Like, why? Like a couple years ago, the idea of Poku playing center would be ridiculous. Now it's like, oh, wow, he's one of the better defensive centers in the league. And that was the biggest concern about him. So the ability to develop players within the system is far more important than saying, oh, we have a weakness, we're going to go acquire somebody. Because in the end, like, everybody's starting to realize, again, like a team like the Timberwolves, like, you can't just do these things on paper, right? It takes time to gel. It takes time to, build off of each other's strengths. And the best way to make sure you have enough time is to make sure that these guys are on rookie scale contracts. So that's where my theory is, like, we just have to look at this and say, we're going to add players, but they're going to be through the draft. It's not going to be through consolidation trades. Like, everybody's itching, like, all of a sudden having deep pockets when it comes to picks is a bad thing. We need to consolidate all this stuff immediately, as fast as possible. But then again, we had 3 picks we used for one player in Ousmane Dieng, and we're sitting here being like, it's not about quickly getting rid of those things. It's about having them around for whenever the player that you want to go get is available.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Sam Presti talks about in his interviews in the beginning of the year and the end of the year, is he talks about a lot of times these professional habits that are being taught to these young players. When you bring in a new person, especially via trade, right? It's a new personality, it's a new mix, it's a mixed bag of, you don't know what they're bringing along. What you're getting with these young players and these young guys and going through the draft is that you get to mentorship in the way that you want them to go. Some take to it, some don't. It doesn't matter. But the reality is that you're looking at these guys and you're saying, we want these guys to have the professional habits. We're going to make sure that they stay on track here. We're going to make sure they do these things right here. And if you're training them at a young age, by the time they get into their mid-20s, mid-30s, it's habits now. It's habit. It's a way of life. And bringing in a new player from, whatever city, from whatever, organization, you don't know what you're getting. And a lot of these guys that are stars or superstars or what I call basic star, a star at the role position, like, they come and they have their own way of doing things. So for me, when we consolidate our picks and we trade them, we're either going after somebody that's in a rookie scale contract still,
like Shea,
right?
Or something.
Because, yeah, or we're going after somebody that is undrafted yet, and we're consolidating our picks to move up in the draft. And I think that's the way that we have to look at it. Like, this isn't all of our picks are going to be utilized, and our younger players that aren't going to be used are going to be utilized in trades. Like, that's not how it's going. Like, we watched Sam Presti get rid of Isaiah Roby and immediately get picked up by the Spurs. That was a better situation. Whether that was worked out beforehand or not, but I looked at it like Isaiah Roby going to the Spurs and learning, from Coach Popovich for 1 year is perfect. This is huge for Isaiah Roby. So to me, like, that's where I see the Thunder is, if they're going to get rid of a player, it's going to be a player like Hami. That's like, I'm out of here anyways, guys. I'm not willing to sign a team-friendly contract, Like, Bazley. If Bazley's like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not signing a team-friendly contract this next year, I'm leaving. I could see the Thunder, moving on from that point. But even then, I think that they would try. He's 22. I think they would double down on Bazley. Say, hey, listen, we'll give you a little bit extra money if you stay here. And anybody that doesn't think that Bazley is worth it, first of all, I don't really give a fuck about you, and I really don't give a shit if you listen to my podcast or not, because I look at Bazley as one of those players that if he gets it, he's going to be one of those players that pushes us over the edge to be a championship caliber team. And why would we ever want to get rid of one of those players ever? And I look at that and I say, yes, that means that we have to have time, but guess what we have more than anything of? Time. This team has so much fucking time to be able to relax and let Bazley and these other guys get better. So as we're looking at this and we're saying there's certain times to pull the plug on certain players, we saw that with Hami, right? This is not the time for Bazley because he's still getting better and you're still seeing how useful he's being. 31 minutes, 12 points, 1 block, 1 steal, 2 assists, 5 rebounds, 1 offensive, and 4 for 7 from the free throw line. He didn't take a 3. He can be fucking incredibly effective on defense and offense, even if he doesn't take a 3. So for me, I look at this and see how the Thunder are utilizing our players, the way they're utilizing them, and using all 12 the other night. I mean, that's huge. Every single one of those players got playing time. And I love that, man. Like, nobody else is doing what we're doing, and I think it's pretty cool.
And I think, basically, to me, when you talk about him not taking a team-friendly contract, I'm like, he's not going to be on the team then.
That's it.
Going along with a team-friendly contract for all of these guys is important because they need to understand that development minutes are important to their career too. And they're going to have to take an opportunity to secure those minutes, especially at a young age. Now, if they don't want to do that, if they prefer to go on to a team like the Heat, where you see a player like, what's his name? The shooter off the bench, Duncan Robinson. I heard them talking about him. He had played 2 games in the last month. You telling me Bazley's going to earn minutes for Spoelstra in a quick time period? There's no way. So, development minutes are as important to his career as, it's going to affect how much he gets paid in the long run. So that somebody might offer him a little bit more now, but if he can keep getting minutes, and he's going to be worth more later. What I want to see with him, but not just him, you go down this list, is a level of support from the fan base where we stop saying this idea of addition through subtraction, right? There's no such thing in this situation. We're in development time periods. So we need to give Dort opportunities, even though some people get impatient. We need to give Bazley opportunities, even though people get impatient. We've seen Poku take, opportunities and really make the most of it. And it's going to keep happening. It can be incredibly exciting to see J-Dub and be like, wow, he should take more opportunities, right? But in the end, whether or not he's prepared to be that aggressive is different than whether or not we want him to take those. Of course, we want him to be more aggressive, but he's got to figure out how to do that while not also, pounding the rock so much that, he's a ball stopper. How can he figure out how to pick his spots? So it's all a big bundle of development that we just have to appreciate. And then you get games like we're down 20, then it starts clicking and you can get a taste of what it would be like. And then the temptation is to say, okay, now how can we just play like that for 4 quarters? Well, that's how everybody thinks. The Heat, they set season best, threes in the first half. And of course they're sitting there being like, if we could just shoot that well for 4 quarters, of course, that's not the question. The question comes down to, what is your peak, especially when you're this young? When you play well, how well does your peak stack up? It stacks up great. Now, when we're not playing as good as we can, we see a team of 2 halves. That's just an element of consistency. So, of course, they're sitting in the locker room saying, what can we do to start out better? How can we play in a way that we don't have to depend on, a locker room, talk with our coaches to come out and to defend at a high level, to have each other's backs, to defend the 3-point line, whatever it's taking, right? This improvement is coming. So that's what we need to be able to look at. Not necessarily how we started, but how we finished. And if you can take that and then say, yes, we're still a couple years away, then we can be satisfied with the result. And there is a point where we stop saying there's a good win. I mean, a good loss. There is such a thing as a good loss right now, but right now, every loss that we're competitive is the definition of a good loss. That's it.
Sure. I got to say, I was really proud of Shea the other night. He got hacked. He got fouled. He did all this other stuff that, at the end of the last 2 minutes, I mean, they were incredibly physical and the refs didn't call. Shit. All right. Shea didn't let that get into his head. There was the time that he attacked the hold, got fouled, right? And they didn't call it. He didn't sit there yelling at the official or, pulling any stupid stunt like that. Like, he moved on. That's a true move from a superstar. I've seen it happen with Kobe so many times. Michael and Akeem was amazing at it, man. Like, he would say what he had to say, right, to the official, okay? Turn around and game time. That's it. Moving on. That's how you get respect from the officials. Like, players like Luka that scream and whine and cry, like James Harden. These are the guys that refs won't give you the call at the end of the game sometimes. So when they see somebody like this, and I assure you, the veteran crew that was there last night reffing the game are going to take note of Shea, zipping his lip and playing ball, controlling what he can control and letting the things that he can't control just be. And it's something that as a coach that Mark and I, we notice these things because, like, how many times are you sitting there and you're yelling at a ref because they're not making the calls, and then you have a star player start fucking around with the ref, and you're like, shut the fuck up. I'm talking to the ref. You don't want him doing anything. You let the coach discuss it, And I think that's a great structure and something that I've missed in the NBA is letting the coach deal with the refs and letting you just play basketball. And with Shea, like, when he got at the end and he, talked to the ref about it, he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't throw a fit. He talked to the ref like a man. He was telling it, like it was. You missed these calls. Why, listen, I like it. I like how this team is going. I like the structure of it. I like the fact that we respect others through this team. It shows you the respect level of the organization. And to me, it's exactly what we need. And it's why when people are like, we need this player, or when they want to talk about trades and they ask us why we don't talk about trades, it's because there's so much intrigue that goes along with each NBA player and each way that an organization values each of the assets that these players bring. And Mark and I are not experts on that. So we're not going to sit here and say the Thunder should go out and get this player and we should trade this and this and this, acting like we know something about the game like that. And we don't. When it comes to breaking down like that and saying what assets do the Thunder truly need and what assets are the Thunder asking for inside the organizations, right? We don't know. So why are we going to waste your time in talking about stuff like that? Our goal is to bring you the things that we know about. And that's when we watch these games and we watch the way that we play defense and the semi-zone that we play and all that other stuff. It matters, Like, I can't help but just take a deep breath sometimes and say, am I truly seeing the beginnings of a dynasty take place? I mean, like, is this what we're watching, or is it just I love the Thunder so much that everything I see, I look at it in a positive way? And I think that's what's so important about what Mark and I do is that we're not here to talk about trading guys and devaluing players and devaluing their the way they play games. Like, we want you guys to love the Thunder like we love the Thunder, And it's not like one of those people where you're like, oh, wait a second here. I don't really like this player or that player. Like, we look at the assets and the players in themselves and understanding who they are as individuals. And we try to understand where they're coming from, just like the organization does. And when you do that, you fall in love with these guys. Like, you want to buy their jerseys, like the Shea and the Giddey behind that and the Dort behind that. And, I've got more upstairs. And it's just, you want to participate in that. You want to be a part of this. And that's what we want to take along with us, is we want to take those guys and all you guys that are listening that truly want to be part of this organization, the growth of this organization and understanding what's going on. Like, we want you guys to be with us. We want you guys to talk to us. We want you to reach out like you guys do on YouTube and write us emails, which you can find our emails anywhere. We want you guys to do this. Why? because it means something to have you guys along the ride with us. And that's why it's so powerful when we look at this team and we're saying, you know, these guys are so young. That's why we'd be supportive, you know? And it's a weird thing to some people that we're supportive like this. But we truly love this team, like we talk like we do. And I think that's the passion that's coming out here, and why when Mark sits here and he says, we need to defend these guys, we do. We need to defend these guys because we don't want to be like New Yorkers, guys. If you want to see what happens to players,
Thunder fans.
Yeah. If you guys want to see what happens to players that go to New York, like, listen, go look at New York. Look at all their draft picks that have turned out in the last, 20 years. Nothing has gone their way because the way their fans treat the players, treat the organization, and treat everything. We don't want that. We're a small market. We want love. We want appreciation. We want to show these guys what we truly feel about them. And that's how Mark and I have decided to give back to this Thunder organization like this.
Yeah, like imagine picking something that had the longest range for its success. So if you're buying a stock or even, God forbid, a cryptocurrency or something, right? Like you're like, okay, this is going to take at least 5, maybe 10 years for it to develop, right? The worst thing you can do is say 1 year in, not throw it away. Like you promised yourself when you got into it that it was a long range investment. 2 years in, like, oh, just get rid of it. It's worthless. Well, here's the thing, right? You are picking a long range investment. If you keep evaluating your investment on a shorter range than you initially picked, then you're fucked because everything will tell you that it was a bad decision until after you've gotten rid of it 10 years later, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I should have hung on to that. That's how this works. So with the Thunder, if you can accept, which it's pretty obvious, that they're taking the longest term projects possible, right? If you can see that by saying these players, some of them are skipping college, some of them are at lower level international things. Like if you know that, then all you can do is say, I want to be as patient as possible. I want to push out the judgment date of whether or not it was a good investment for as long as possible. And keep this one very key thing in mind. And this is the whole premise of this whole stuff. The same people who were encouraging the team to lose intentionally last year, like, oh, we want to cheer for this team to lose, right? Are now saying certain players aren't moving as fast as they would like, so we should abandon them because now they want to win, right? Like, I don't know how these people avoid getting whiplash because watching them do this is insane. But first of all, we should just accept that if they were outwardly, loudly cheering for the team to lose last year, and then this year they're impatient because they want to win right now and they feel like a player is holding him back, we have to say, we're not listening to anything you have to say as if it's serious, right? That's it. Like you haven't been into this long range plan from the beginning. And we're going to look at Poku right now is a really good example. And soon we're going to have more good examples, right? And it doesn't mean every player that we draft is going to turn out. We saw Teo Malanon and Krejci get moved to different places, and that's going to happen. But we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to sit around and be like, oh, I'm afraid if I support this player, they're going to move away, they're going to get traded or something. But that's okay.
That's about second-round picks, man. That's about second-round picks. Like, you either get it or you don't. That's why the G League is so important, because it gives the second-round picks the best chance to survive. You know, like, that's giving the best chance for J. Will right now to survive. It's giving the best chance for Ousmane Dieng to survive. You know, right now, they would be sitting on the bench getting, maybe 8 to 12 minutes a game. You know? Instead, they're playing 35-plus minutes a game in the G League. That's way better. That's pretty much one of the top 3 leagues in the world. Top 4 leagues in the world. Maybe 5. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Top 10.
Top 10. Top 20. Leagues in the league, right? So I look at it like it's really important for these guys to get those minutes like that, to get that burn time and understand the rotation and the motion. And so when I'm seeing these guys switch down there, I can't help but get excited for them. You know, I can't help but understand that this is opening up for us to play 12 guys, and that's without Kenny Hustle out there, and that's without some other guys out there. So, like, when you look at this team and the starters, you got Bazley with 31 minutes, J-Dub 31, Shea 36, Giddy 36, Dort 34. That's how it's going to look in the future, to be honest. You know, like that's the future of this team is they're going to be putting up in 30-minute games all the stars. You insert Chet here, insert whoever else is the starter. And then on the bench, you're going to have, 25 minutes from one guy, 17 minutes from another guy, 10 and 8 and 8 and 5. And guess what? That's your 12 guys. And that's your rotation. And you can have a rotation like this and have somebody like Bazley on the bench that only plays 5 to 15 minutes a game and be okay. You can have guys like Poku, who only played 8 minutes the other night, but has been starting consistently. I think he's dealing with an injury. But, you can have Trey Mann only put 5 minutes in because it wasn't his game. Because you're going to have Trey Mann come out in the next game and probably play 25 minutes because he's going to be shooting lights out. So it's about feeling the team, the pulse of the team. And if you look at the other teams in the league, is they have 3 or 4 guys that they consistently play off the bench, right? And if those guys aren't playing well, then they have 6 guys that are playing 48 minutes each almost. That's no fun for anybody. Game in and game out. Like this right here, and watching Shea and being in that place where we're almost, half, not even half, a fourth or a third of the way done through the season, something like that. It doesn't matter what it is. But you're looking at Shea and you're saying, man, he looks really good out there, right? At the end of the game, he's not huffing and puffing, and everybody's like, oh, Shea needs more minutes. This is proof Shea needs more minutes. But I'm like, no. Because I want him to play 75 games this year, Like, I want him to play 70 games this season. So in order to do that, you got to give. You got to be able to give up, 5 minutes a game in order to do that. Because otherwise, you're sitting in there and you're having all your guys get tired and worn out. And end of the season, they're like, why aren't they hitting shots? Why aren't they doing this? It's like, no shit, because they're tired. Say what you want about a 24-year-old and with Shea, is that Shea is still not done growing. He's still not done putting the weight on. For him to get to that point where he can put in 40 minutes a game in and game out, and play in the playoffs, right? He's got to get his body to that shape, and that's going to take 2 or 3 more years. That's not overnight, like we've been talking about. So for us, it's all about that 35-plus minutes for Shea, and seeing that with Josh and seeing that with Dort right now, because the rest of the guys will fall in place. But it's important to see these guys play. And watching Bazley step up last night for Poku as he's dealing with his injury, I'm all for it, man.
Last episode, I think I mentioned that Poku might have an injury. I think I was getting that confused with JRE. I'm not sure what's going on with JRE's leg injury, but he was out. So I'm not sure if Poku was. He was playing. He didn't start. So that would lead me to think that he was overall healthy. But here's the deal, right? I'm going to talk a bit more about Bazley. You mentioned Bazley there. He stepped up and stepped in that spot. But, overall, if you were to look at the best player that the Heat have right now, a lot of people would be like, oh, Tyler Hero probably. But truthfully, we know it's Bam.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can build a team around Bam. Now, it's whatever. It's not perfect, but this guy's highly
if you have one guy to pick off this team without taking Butler.
Yeah, I'm still taking Bam over Butler, personally.
All right, I disagree with you, but this is your speech. So go ahead.
Butler's an issue everywhere he goes, and sure, he's satisfied in Miami, but I would say on both sides of the ball, you can build something elite with Bam at the center of, which I'm not saying Butler's not an elite player, but I don't know how much you can build all the way around him. But here's the deal, right? The team we were playing, Bam was the leader of that team. And we matched up Bazley with him. And Bazley went toe-to-toe with him. Bam had 15 and 12, I think. And he also had 4 turnovers. So Bazley went up there and he put up 12 and 6, 12 and 5. So
yeah,
my point is this,
with no turnovers.
Right. And how many people are sitting there being like, oh, well, Bam, we're done with Bam. Nobody's done with Bam, right? So,
but
why are as fans, we have to recognize that this guy just had a good game. He was matched up against one of the toughest matchups in the league, and he held his own. So he showed his upside. So we got to give him that love. Like he's earning it, and he's proving that he's a capable player. And you can leave him alone against a tough matchup like this.
Yeah, playing the power forward position, to me, for him, unless the guy is rough and tough, isn't a good matchup for Bazley necessarily. He'll do it, and he'll do a very good job, block the shots. But I love Bazley the most in that center position. And if you look at that center position for the first few years that Chet's coming into the league, obviously we're not going to lean on Chet to put all of his bulk minutes on that center position. I'm sure he'll play some, yet like everybody knows he will. But the bulk minutes aren't going to be in that center position. So you're going to need people like Bazley, JRE, J Will, right? Mike Muscala.
But specifically,
got your four.
A matchup against Bam Bazley. Different matchups, different people.
Yes, exactly. Because you got Mike Muscala, who is obviously going to, I think, would play better against somebody like Karl Anthony Towns. You know, like you put Mike Muscala out there for Karl Anthony Towns. You have your four different big men that you rotate, because the reality is that people can say that getting a center and having one big center out there is key, right? But to me, I look at and Mike Muscala, I use him, but I really look at Poku as that other center. You know, like let's just look at Poku as that other center. But Mike Muscala, for now, will utilize him because he's on the team and allows Poku to play that forward position on a typical basis as a backup for Chet or whatever. But I look at this and I say, for the future of what we're trying to do with this team, it's very important that we have center by committee. Okay. I don't want to see out there one guy that's taking up all the minutes. Like last night, you know, you had Bazley 31 minutes and Bam had 33. Almost the entire time, Bazley was matched up against
that big
Bam.
block by Poku on Bam. Also a big block by Bazley. But yeah, like there was a short overlap there, that's all.
You got 6 fouls in that time period on Bam. You know? And it had everything to do with the way Bazley was playing him. And I can't help but understand that like we watched Bazley go there and play against Luka and do a great job against Luka. And then we watched him against Bam. Like, why wouldn't you want somebody like this on your team? Like, why couldn't you understand that this guy right here is like a Swiss Army knife of sorts? Yes, sometimes we get fucking carried away and compare guys to greats, but that's because that's who we know still. Like, we're still understanding in the aspect of, like, when you're saying stuff to us and we're saying, oh, you know, Shea has elite level like Kobe and Jalen Williams has an elite level like Michael Jordan, it's because, like, to us, that's exactly how we see their games. It's like the way that they morph and they drive to the hole, and you see J-Dub drive to the hole hard and pull up like a smooth motion. You're like, that's Jordan-esque. Like, that's the way that you want to see, you know? Like, if you're comparing these guys to like guys like, Cayenne Butler, you know, or guys like that had a little bit whoop, whoop in the league and then they're gone. Like, why? Like, we want to compare these guys because guess what happens when you build a dynasty, when you build a team that's going to be in the playoffs for a long, long time, right? Those are the guys that people look back and remember. Those are the guys that become legends, right? Those are the guys that become all-stars and all this other stuff. Like, they become Hall of Famers because they went to the playoffs so many times. And then you're sitting, people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't compare your just people to greats. Well, if you go to the playoffs 15 of your 20 years in the league, all right, and you start all 15 years, you're going to hold some records, and you're going to be known as one of the greats for that generation. And that's that. So when we compare players to greats, it's because we believe in this team the most.
Yeah, and this team, because of the nature of the draft picks that we add, those players are by definition going to have some of the longest, most strenuous journeys. Like, starting out, skipping out college, that puts you at a disadvantage. You know, all these people came into this organization with massive disadvantages, but through time, they've been able to start figuring out how to turn those to advantages. And when you see a game like that with Bazley against Bam, we need to say, like, perfect, right? And then I hear people go like, oh yeah, but he needs to be able to do that consistently. Well, no shit. That's called being a fucking all-star. Like, if you can have that type of game against Bam every game, then you're going to have games that are easier that aren't against players like that. And you're going to be able to impose your will sometimes. Now, that's later. But it's more important to be able to say, like, look, he's figuring it out, than to be able to sit there and like a fucking moron being like, yes, but why hasn't he figured it out yet? Because ask yourself, what were you really doing at a high level at 22? What were you doing at such a high level that you were considered elite at 22 years old? Me, it would be like nothing other than jerking off, bro. I was elite at jerking off at 22.
That's what I was about to say, man. I was fucking elite at jerking off at 22. I was a fucking
one of one, bro. There's nobody like me.
I had shoulder surgeries. When I was younger, so I was ambidextrous, man. I could go both hands. I could go all day long, man. Had no slowing down on me.
I just don't even know.
When I was 22, that is.
Right, like I get it. Like, this is a league of millionaires, and he's a millionaire, so maybe we need to like hold him to a higher standard. But I'm also like when he has a game like this should get everybody high enough to stay high on Bazley for at least 2 more months. Like,
yeah,
we just got to give him time. Now, he still has to pick a team-friendly contract versus somebody else who's going to be offering him way better money to go and eventually, become not a great player there. But if he could figure it out with us, then anybody who just held on to their Bazley stock, they're the people who one day wake up and realize, just like when you held on to like Google or Apple or whatever, like now you're a billionaire. Like, Bazley stock is cheap. It doesn't make sense why it's so cheap. It's cheap because people have given up on it. Buy it. Buy all that you can and tell everybody you're buying Bazley stock.
I agree, man, and it's fun. It's fun to watch this team starting to figure it out. It's fun to watch them understand where the possibilities really could be, because, man, like, I look at the structure of the team and I see what Sam Presti has done, and he talks so much about making sure like there's a difference between drafting players and putting, a bunch of guys together and building a team and the structure of a team. And you see this, man, and when a player is missing, you notice there's something missing from that team because of the way that Sam Presti has built this team. And the other night when we were missing JRE and, Kenny Hustle, you could tell, man, like, we had a really hard time getting over that hump in the second quarter when those two guys lead the team, are emotional leaders, are physical leaders out there.
But then on the flip side,
and it's great to see.
You get to see Wiggins out there with minutes, and you're like, see, this is why it's so beautiful. I couldn't build this because I don't have the vision, but now you're looking at it, it's like, oh man, we got how many 12, 14 players that we can play at any given time? Like, this is crazy. You're supposed to have the 12th, 13th, and 14th players on your bench be people who are incapable of playing and are getting just paid to be there for moral support. That's what the NBA has always been like. And we're sitting here watching next man up mentality run all the way down to the G League. And it's like, holy shit, bro.
I know. And again, it's the brilliant mind of none other than Sam Presti.
Sam motherfucking Presti.
It's somebody that sits there and says, hey, this is how a billion-dollar organization is run. This is how you have the structure. This is how you have your go-getters. This is how you have your players. This is how you have your GMs, your assistant GMs, your coaching, blah, 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 all the way down. He understands because he set the structure up like this. Like, so many times you see an NBA structure is designed like a player became a coach and a coach became a GM. And it's chaos, fucking mad chaos inside of an organization.
Right.
This has to be for anybody that's watching and looking at this organization to even look at it and walk in the organization and just be like, holy fuck. Like, everything's covered. Like players' relations, boom, done. You're talking about podcasts, finally. They got their stuff figured out with the podcasting and getting the players out there and
Shout out to Royce. I think Royce put that one together.
No doubt Royce got that shit going, because what Royce has been able to do in his time there is truly spectacular. And
I'm really looking forward.
Giving us more information.
I need that I need that movie, the book, bro. I need Royce's book. When is it going to come out? Somebody tell us.
So I just love the fact that this organization is going in the right way. In a way, it's peaking inside the organization at the right time, because when it's peaking at the right time, you're only going to see the players be able to be beneficiaries of that, whatever that word is. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the alcohol and drugs. But my point is that you can't help but truly understand what's happening inside this organization unless you look at what Sam Presti has truly built here. And understanding that, you can't help but sit back and just be able to be very appreciative of the situation, because, I mean, is there anybody better? Anybody better in any organization, in any professional sports that you would want as a small market GM? I don't think there is. If you're a small market GM, you're waiting for Sam Presti to come out with his books about writing how to run an organization, because you're going to follow it to the T. Because what he's done here and going out there, and we had one of our lovely loyal listeners, say it right though, was he goes out there and he drafts foreign players. And why is he drafting foreign players? Well, because they have more of a loyalty to stay loyal to the team, versus guys that are jumping around from, organization to organization in college and these other places. Like, you want loyalty. And that's why it's important, is a lot of these times we're sitting in a position where it's like Sam Presti's picking guys like Josh Giddey. Everybody's like, why did you go Josh Giddey? And I'm looking at him like, that was the best pick ever. Because when Josh Giddey gets it, he's getting it, obviously. I mean, he's dominating right now, like completely fucking dominating. The last 10 games, 12 games are just Josh Giddey's moments.
Yeah.
When these guys are getting it and they understand where the loyalty is, they're not going anywhere. And that's what I get excited about. And that's what I'm pumped about. All right, bro. Man, what do you got pull up?
There you go. I went for a walk. You got snow yet, bro?
No.
Oh my God. We got so much snow here. It's like we got a foot since Mark
yesterday. Mark lives like 4.5 hours away from you guys, by the way. And he gets gobs of snow, and every year we get a little teaser. Like, it's like going to a strip club and they have pasties on, man. It's not even fair.
Bro, we got a lot, bro. We got a lot. But there you go. That's my dog. That's me. If you're watching, you can see. Yes, I have a red dog, a red jacket, red pants, and a red beard. And everything was red. His eyes. Red. Anyway, guys, we love you. We appreciate you. We're hoping to get some more wins up on the board. But in the meantime, we can talk about our philosophy. It's not just about our philosophy about this team. It's how we see life. It's how we see things. Try to take it with a grain of salt, a little sugar, and a shot.
I just gotta say, I can't get over. And the other day after the episode, I wrote Mark, and I was like, "You see all this?" Like, over Twitter, people, giving us shout outs. We had people on YouTube giving us shout outs. We had just people telling us how good it was that last episode was. Like, guys, it means so much. Like, it really does. I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, you fucking pansies or whatever. I don't give a shit. Call us whatever you want. We are who we say we are. We act like the way we act because that's who we are. And we really appreciate any of you guys that decide to reach out and just speak your mind. Tell us how you feel about stuff and tell us what's up, because we're going to take the time and respond to you and talk to you, because you guys are listening to us on a daily basis. And if you're going to listen to us on a daily basis and take time out of your day, we're going to take time out of our day and make sure we talk to you guys.
For sure. And when we got this thing started, Dave lived in Hawaii. I lived in New Hampshire. And we both felt extremely isolated as Thunder fans. That isolation is depressing. And that's what's been so rewarding about, having such a big community all around the country, all around the world, every continent, man. We keep hearing from people. And it means so much to us because it's removed us from that isolation feeling, from that depression, from feeling like we're the only people who saw things. Like, the first round of Thunder Love, how awesome that was, but how many pitfalls the media and the fans went through, the narratives that we saw that were divisive. And then we're looking at it and we're watching it happen again. And we're like, we believe that we can be a voice for change. But in the end, Dave and I talking to each other is just a couple of brothers having a good time. What gives us an opportunity to change the Thunder world, the Thunder universe, is you guys. By listening, by giving us a thumbs up, by commenting, by telling your friends. But mostly what you have to understand about us is when we get after this podcast, like, we try to bring good energy, we try to have a good time, but I always forget everything we said because I'm just talking to you. I don't have an agenda, right? We're just shooting the shit. And the second thing is I'm always a bit depressed. Like, the post production, get it up there. Like, there's always this downside of, like, I don't know if people are going to even like what we said. I don't know if people
every time,
I don't remember what I said, but I don't remember, but I know I said something that I meant. I know that every single time because just by the nature of who I am, I speak what I think, and if people don't want to hear it, that's fine. They just leave me alone because I'm just going to keep talking about what I believe. So I believe in what I'm doing here. Not always sure what I said or what I did, but I still believe in it. And I find that when people come along and they pat us on the back and they let us know how much they appreciate it and they do things like subscribe and all that shit, what happens is we start realizing, like, whoa, like, people actually appreciate what we're doing. Like, you might think that that's assumed, but, like, we need daily reminders because, like, we're that insecure. There. Now you guys know our secret. Don't tell anybody. It's just between us and our best friends. Okay, guys?
And let's just put it out there, guys. You guys are our tip of the dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, without you guys, we're nothing. And the more we play with the tip of the dick, the better it feels. So, we got you guys.
There's got to be a name for the tip of the dick, bro. I don't know the scientific name.
It's the tip.
It's the
just
tip.
the tip, bro. The tip.
All right, join us next episode to find out the medical term for the tip of the dick. Join us. We'll see you then. We love you guys. We love you long time.
Yeah.